Hey everybody, I'm here to talk about the Hinterkaifeck murders, Germany's most notorious domestic murder case of all time. In my opinion, the most brutal domestic murder case of all time. It is purely brutal and very sickening. There were a total of 6 victims in the Hinterkaifeck murders, and they were the head of the Hinterkaifeck farmstead, Andreas Gruber, his wife Kazelia, Victoria Gabriel, which was their daughter who was widowed, her 2 children, Kazelia and Joseph, and Maria Baumgartner. She was the maid. She arrived the night she died. Tough stuff. They were all killed by a blow to the head from a pickaxe, among various other tools. It's common knowledge at that time that Andreas and his daughter had a very strong incestuous relationship. They were sent to court for it a few times. They were acquitted, but the evidence was there to prosecute in the first place. A lot of people thought that little Joseph, instead of being the son of the suitor of Victoria, Lorenz Schlittenbauer, was a result of Andreas and his daughter's incestual relationship. Not only that, Andreas was a known woman beater. He treated his family like dirt. The only person who had any sort of respect was Victoria because she could sing in the church choir. Now, 6 months prior to these murders, the previous maid left the farmstead claiming that the farm was haunted and that she refused to inhabit it any longer. The Gruber family, they were stunned, but, oh well. So about 2 weeks before the murders happened, Andreas notices footsteps in the snow. He hears sounds in his attic. He sees a newspaper he's never ordered. His keys go missing, and someone tried to pick his locks. He thinks something's up. But, he searches his house, nothing happens. Now, on March 31st, 1922, Maria Baumgartner shows up at the farmstead, her last day of her life, and Andreas, Kazelia, Victoria, and her daughter were all lured up. Her daughter Kazelia were all lured up to the barn and killed by multiple blows to the head from pickaxes. Then he went inside and killed the maid and little Joseph. Now, a lot of people think little Joseph's the key to this whole thing, myself included, because he's the result of an incestuous relationship. Say that Victoria's husband, Carl Gabriel, didn't die and came back from the World War One, and in secret. And again, the reason I think he was the key to this is because my suspect wouldn't have wanted him dead, in brutal fashion, and all these people were killed in brutal fashion except for Joseph. Now, say Victoria's original husband didn't die in World War One. Say that he survived, and that's heavy speculation because a lot of his fellow soldiers saw him get hit by a mine shell and die. But say he comes back, he finds out that she's having sex with her father and they've made a child together. He might go crazy from that and he might just kill her. But the killer remained on the farmstead for 2 weeks after the murders. Now, finding out about an incestuous relationship would drive her ex-husband to kill her, but I can't really see it making him stay on the farm for 2 weeks and feeding the cattle and, tending the fire. What I can see is Victoria's suitor, Lorenz Schlittenbauer, Joseph's supposed father. Okay, he was a renowned locksmith. He, according to reports, he opened the door from the inside when they found the bodies. He wanted to marry Victoria, but Andreas wouldn't let her get married. Maybe it drove him to crime of passion. So, it was also noted that the dog on the farm couldn't stand him. It was barking at him the whole time. They said that he was moving around the family barn with ease, and he knew what he was doing. He was calm, staring in the face of death, and he moved the bodies with no disgust or hesitation. Now, it also should be noted that Lorenz was being sued by Victoria for alimony for little Joseph. And Lorenz had just got married about a month prior to this, and his son had died, the one he had with his other wife. Now, maybe he went crazy because he was facing alimony charges for a kid that wasn't even his, and his son had just died, so he went crazy and, killed the family. But, they couldn't pin any evidence on him. Now, after a year of countless searches, they finally found the murder weapon in the attic after tearing the barn down, or the farmstead down. And George Siegel, a farmhand, confirmed it was built by Andreas himself and it was kept locked tight in the tool shed. Now, there's so much about this case that is just odd. There's really not too much evidence, but if the maid was hearing sounds that made her think the house was haunted. Possibly she heard the murderer, and that means the murderer lived in secrecy for 6 months on the farmstead before making his move. Now, like, I mean, there's only one way you would stay on the farm afterwards, is intercepting the alimony letter. Now, a lot of people think this is a supernatural effect, and I don't want to debunk anything and cast any doubt to anybody. I don't really believe it was supernatural. I believe that Lorenz Schlennenbotter wanted to intercept the alimony letter, and he was driven crazy by the loss of his child, and he killed the family. But there's almost no way you can solve this case because it's over 100 years old. Or no, it's not over 100 years old. It's going on 100 years old. It's about to be 100 years old, and the Munich Police Department opens it up, once every 15, or so years, and they never get anywhere. In 2007, a German forensic company opened it up, and they pinned it on Lorenz and a few other people. But the bodies of the 6 victims were buried in Weidhofen, but they were headless because their head received so much trauma that they sent them to Munich for study. Now, during World War II, their heads were lost during the chaos. Over 100 suspects have been questioned, but none have ever been so much as indicted on the charges. And here is their memorial statuette that is found in Weidhofen, Germany. I hope you've enjoyed my presentation. If you wish to look at the German forensics report where they did the investigation, I have it listed in my references, but you will need a translation, I will tell you that. It's the 3rd reference on the bottom, but it requires a translation. It's pretty good stuff, though. But thank you.